Was there ever any doubt? No. Not in the game.
Not really, but I smelled overtime. I thought I got a whiff of overtime. But
not in the game and not in our ability to show up for this show. We said we were going to do it, and we're here. We're going to be here for the Lakers game as well. So
that's right.
To those of you joining, we'll welcome people here joining late, joining the stream. We may or may not have other guests as we go, and as always, we're going to hop on Locker Room afterwards. So, guys, let's just start. Let's start at the end. This was, the Celtics have been good in fourth quarters lately, especially closing, which has been uncharacteristic based on how they've been in the season. But they went up against one of the most clutch teams in the NBA, and it looked for a little bit there. Celtics had that, I think it was 117-109, and then they just kind of stopped for a little bit from that 5-minute mark to the 1-minute mark. Not great shots. Thank goodness for Rob there. Bailed them out a couple of times with a couple of buckets there, or else they might not have scored at all. And then Tatum with a freaking dagger at the end there, which was, classic no, yes shot. But, I mean, that's what scorers do. And, that was cold-blooded. So that was it. Marcus there at the end, you'd like to see him hit the 2 free throws, but that was clever there. What the Celtics did, missed a free throw, trapped the rebounder. Portland had no timeouts, no ability to advance it. I loved this game. I mean, I know everybody was freaking out over the Denver game. I loved this game, not just how they pulled it out, but I loved the pace they played with. I loved the intensity. This felt like the whole game felt like it got kicked up a notch.
Yeah, they had tone setters throughout too. You had Kemba Walker early pushing them on transition. You had Marcus Smart setting a tone on the defensive end of the floor for stretches of this one. Then you finally had Jayson Tatum looking like that February 2020 version of himself in crunch time, just making it happen.
Exactly.
Getting into the free throw line, taking advantage of the bonus. And it almost, when you think of the way he's using the bonus, getting to the free throw line, as I just said, it's almost a step above what he was doing in that February stretch a year and a half ago, because that was all shooting. It just, lethal 3-point shooting, volume looks from outside. Now he's adding that free throw. Last 3 games, 10 attempts, 16 attempts, 8 attempts. Just free points for a guy who's shooting probably close to 90% at the line this year. Such a useful attribute for this offense that doesn't get to the free throw line a ton, and he's just willing them the advantages in these games right now from that location. Keeping the turnovers low, dishing the teammates at a steady pace. He looks like that floor general that he was for them in the playoffs again, and that is just a game changer for this group. He's past that COVID fog, it feels like, and what a shot, and what a drop, and great adjustments late by Brad. This was a tough one to win. I mean, they were down 3 steady throughout this one, and it felt like Portland was just that much ahead of them throughout large stretches of this game, and then they turned it up in a big way in that fourth quarter.
Yeah, no question, Bobby. I like what you talked about. John talked about the pace and the way they looked offensively. I mean, that went such a long way for Jayson Tatum, because it's been something we've been talking about the last couple of weeks, right? It was like, if you guys can swing the ball around, help him help himself, right? I mean, whether it's Robert Williams, who I thought was great in just getting touches in the paint. I mean, Sherrod talked about that last week, but we saw that instantly. Those first 5-6 possessions, and it seemed like it seemed to happen throughout, whether it was him, whether it was other guys in that lineup. Of course, Marcus Smart is the other key here, helping him get those open looks. But, of course, helping guys like Marcus and Robert Williams get open looks for themselves. Now, Robert Williams wasn't afraid. He hit a couple of big ones, or at least ones that they really needed, like you talked about, John. And I thought that what I loved the most about Tatum was, I easily was just as excited to see him get to the free throw line than I was to see him hit that 3-pointer down the stretch, the dagger, right? Because that's like the superstar swag that you see throughout the league, throughout top 10 NBA guys, where they can keep their composure, stop the bleeding, and just get to the free throw line. Stop the, not panic, not have your teammates try to do too much and try to make up for what you were unable to. No. Just control the pace, take your time, get to the hoop, of course, and then ultimately get to the free throw line. I thought that was huge. For the Celtics.
Yeah, and I agree. What Bobby said with Tatum too is right. It's spot on. You had that. It's totally right. That stretch that he was on last year, pre-bubble, was all just Dame Lillard stuff. Step back, in your eye, nothing you could do, just hitting these,
right.
just knocking down these threes in people's faces all the game long, just unconscious shooting, as you said. But you look at his shot chart here, the majority and the efficiency with which he got 32 points, that's totally different. That's a different wrinkle. The 10 free throw attempts, 4 out of 7 3-point field goals. He only attempted, I think, 3 shots outside that weren't either 3-pointers or in the paint. And that's also not counting all the times he got to the line, which meant a lot of that stuff. I mean, these are the types of things you're talking about with Tatum that you want to see him hunting a better quality of shot. And it seems like he's doing that these last few games in a totally different way. So you talk about an evolution.
It's contagious though, John, right? I mean, that's the important part. I didn't have to cut you off. I want to make sure I get this in here. But you look at the other 2 teammates in that starting lineup, and all 3 of them, they scored 20 plus tonight, we got 64 plus points from those 3 guys, and Tatum, Jaylen, and Kemba Walker. When's the last time we were able to say that? Or when was the last time we were saying, oh yeah, this is what it's supposed to look like?
Each of the big 3 goes for 20. You had a game last week where Smart was one of the 3 guys. They had three guys go for 20, and Smart was one of them. But you want to see the Kemba Brown, and I loved Kemba tonight too. The bounce he was playing with was awesome. And what's funny is, like, Jaylen was the guy who was hot early. He shot out of the gate. Was their leading scorer, and then it just, kind of Tatum took over. But it was a classic game of, like, we always talk about, like, my ball, your ball sort of offense, but today it felt more complimentary. Each guy was kind of heating up at a different time. It wasn't that the other guys had gone ice cold. Just all game long, it was just a different guy stepping up. And it's when you have all of those weapons doing what they're doing the way they were doing it. But again, you're right. It's the type of shot that they were getting. Everybody was attacking more, a ton more inside outside paint touches, as we've been talking about. It felt different. This felt like a different vibe of game than ones they'd played in the past. Like I said, it would have sucked if they lost it, but I really liked. I just liked the whole. I liked the way they played this game, both ends of the floor. And again, I know Portland put up points. It's a friggin' dynamic offense here. I mean, I thought they played pretty well defensively as well.
Yeah, and what's interesting about this resurgence for this team is we're starting to see things they did so well last year, whether it's spot transition runbacks on defense or the defensive rotations or sharing the ball at a high level like this, multiple layers of facilitating. We're starting to see everything that drove that playoff run come back, combined with, like, the new things that they've shown off this year. Offensive rebounding, they were all over the boards all game long tonight. Second chance points were so important for them. A new level of physicality off the bench. I think if I have to look at something negative from this one, Portland's bench really took it to Boston's for stretches, but there was still a physicality factor there. And, the staggering of the lineups that they were able to take advantage of Cantor a little bit, that kind of saved them.
Melo skewed those stats because he had.
It's good to have that guy off the bench.
Melo's Melo, but let's be honest. I mean, he doesn't shoot lights out like this very often, and so that obviously made it really tough. I mean, this just he was out of his mind, and
he can do that. He can do that sometimes. Not to that what we saw tonight, but he sets the stage for those guys in that fourth sometimes. But again, I mean, that Portland, the defense down the stretch, that's the thing. I mean, you're playing, shot for shot there. The Celtics got the better end, obviously.
He can, but I mean, honestly, he's got his his lowest shooting percentage of his career this year. I mean, he is what he is. He's a guy who comes in, shoots a ton, but usually is around 40% field goals. He was 10 out of 15 tonight. It's hard to count on that. I mean, he was hitting everything, and that little stretch there where Grant was on him too, and he got those threes and got him back in. That was the wrong. They just let him
line up Grant every time.
That was the wrong. That was the wrong matchup.
Three times in a row. I'm like, you gonna just keep putting Grant on it?
I was like, you had Romeo come off the bench early, and I liked that, but he didn't get any run again. You'd certainly, I think, on Melo there like to see, as he was heating up, a Romeo or a Semi would match up a little bit better. But maybe they were just counting on him turning back into a pumpkin at some point and not being able to continue this hotness, and it burned him. And It is what it is, but I think that skewed the bench stats there because just Melo went off.
It's something about that
national TV Melo. Somebody just put it in the chat. TNT Melo.
That's a good point.
There's something to that Grant Thompson duo, though, and they had a plus performance together again in this one. No offense from those two. You had a nice kick out from Thompson to Grant for 3 late that ended up being pretty important. Thompson probably cleaned up a few buckets throughout the course of this one and then missed a ton of other ones inside. But late in games, particularly in these second halves, those guys are wearing away at opposing bench units too inside and packing that paint all over the boards. They've unlocked something there between those two, and it's allowed Grant to be more effective in these games outside of those Melo scorching stretches.
Well,
he had a nice block on Lillard late in rotation, and Thompson's holding down that paint right now, blocking shots, being a rim protector. Just a new dynamic there off the bench that you didn't see early in the year.
By the way, just to show you how rare the Melo was. Anyone know the Bucks? Anyone know his output in his last game 2 days ago against Miami?
4 points.
0 points on 0 for 4 shooting. Before that, 11, 7, 8, 10, 6. So again, this was an
how about that movie?
Melo
How about
game.
that movie throwing Pritchard? I mean, Pritchard and Grant had an education about as old as them on the other side.
Surprised he only took 4 shots.
0 points last game off the bench. So Celtics, by the way, moved into 5th place in the East with this win. They are now 1 game behind the 4th place Hawks.